number 16, we're going to install the front hubs onto the, I should say the front axles onto the front hubs. Very straightforward, a new design over the last version, but you're going to see that the back spacer here has a little triangle pattern on it. You'll also see that triangle pattern in the back of the axle, and those are going to fit together and get screwed on. To put them in, how I like to do it is grab one of your hubs. We're going to take the small spacer and you're going to drop it into the inside of the bearing. Then put your finger on it. Go ahead and turn the hub over. Take your axle and drop it down in and spin it until it falls in. Go ahead and hold your thumb on this portion and your finger in the back, and what we're going to do is we're going to check the play, and we'll get close up here and you can see that there's a large amount of play in that axle. So this is an optional step, but we're going to go ahead and shim that out. We're going to use the Team FastEddy Pro Series shim kit. And again, this is optional, but there's 3 different thicknesses, and we're going to use 1 or more shims and different thicknesses to take a majority of that play out. And you hear that I say a majority because you never want it too tight. You always want just a little bit of play in there because the heat can expand the metal and you don't want it to bind up. So we've slipped a shim over the axle here. We're going to go ahead and drop it in just like we did before and test it. There should just be a tiny bit of play. There we go, just a tiny bit in there. So that's how we're going to shim out the front hub, if in fact you choose to do so, and we highly suggest it. Now we need to put a screw in, and the screw is going to go in from the front. You're going to want to grab the appropriate screw and then also put a lock washer on there. Seeing as how this is a metal to metal connection, we're going to use a little bit of Loctite on the end of the screw. Again, you're going to hold the assembly together so it doesn't fall apart when you pick it up. Make sure that it's all properly set in there. Drop the screw down in and tighten her up. You're only going to be able to get so much torque on there, and you do need to tighten it down. So what we're going to do at this point is grab our wheel wrench that came with your kit. We're going to set it down on top of the axle so that it captures the hex nut. We're going to stick the driver down inside and tighten it up a little bit more. You don't want to strip it out, but you don't want it to be loose. And then again, after it's tightened down, you're going to want to check the play to make sure you didn't over shim it, if in fact you did shim them up, and they should turn freely. Very straightforward. We're going to go ahead and do the same on the second unit off camera, and then move on to the next step. We're going to breeze right through step number 17 here. Get out your nut installation tool, and we are going to install nuts into the 85-422 nut keepers. We'll show you what this is all about in just a second. So let's go ahead and put our nut in there and repeat that for both of them, which I've already pre-installed one of them here. And these serve as a holder to hold the nut into the hub. So as you're going to hold the hub in this direction, there's a little nub that's inside here. Let's go ahead and position the little nut holder like so. and it just slides right in. You're going to center it. And that just retains that nut inside. Pretty interesting design, but it works. So we're going to hold this forward. We're going to put the little point forward and slide it right in. Let's go ahead and get our products laid out for step number 18, and we'll have some more fun. On to step number 18. We've got a lot going on here. There's not really that many parts and pieces, but you do have to be very careful and pay particular attention to the direction that pieces are going on. Otherwise, you're going to have to backstep and redo them. The little arms, if you take a look at your part number 85408-4, the picture is very deceptive. This is what it looks like. There's a part number 3 and a part number 4. And when I took them off of the tree, I inscribed a little 4 on the one that was on 4. And again on the same, I inscribed a little 3 for part number 3 because they're not universal. You have to make sure that you get the right ones on the right side. We're going to go ahead and mount these up. It's fairly straightforward. First thing you're going to want to do is to get your long, thin screws and put a washer on there, just like it shows in the directions. And you're going to do that on both of them. We're going to hold and take a look at the directions on the left unit, and we're going to point it just like it's oriented in the manual. And then we're going to take our part number 4 that we inscribed the 4 on, and we're going to install this. And there's several different ways that it can go on, and we need to make sure that we get it on in the proper direction. And this is how it's going to go. The way that I remember is that the angle points up, and then also if you look at it, this is angled back and this is angled back. This is square and this is square. So that's how they're going to go on. And we'll take one of the screws. We're going to go ahead and drop it in and go all the way through. We'll do the same with our second one. That's how it's going to look. Going to use our fingers, hold the screws in, and put a washer and a nut on each one. Teeny tiny little suckers. Hard to grab off the table. Da-da-da. Okay. Got those on. Maybe. Little sucker wants to cross thread. There we go. Got that on. We're going to use our little mini tool here. Tighten these down. Going to go ahead and repeat the process the same way on the other side. So we're just going to build one here. Go ahead and tighten those down. Ooh, nice catch. So that's how it's going to look at this point. And match it up against the photo in the directions, just to make sure you're doing it the right way. I may be doing it wrong, I don't know. We'll find out sooner or later. Alright, now we're going to put the ball stud on. And the ball stud, first thing we're going to do is to find part number 85422, which is a 3mm spacer. And it's on the same tree that you got these little nut holders off of. We're going to go ahead and slide that spacer onto the ball, and the ball is going to go in from the bottom up in, and we're going to follow it up with the flanged nut. It's got a flange on there. And then tighten that down. Boy, I am just grabbing the wrong wrench all day. That's not going to work either. Where's my wrench? Yeah, there we go. We'll just use the one on the drill. That'll work. Okay. Going to go ahead and repeat that same process on the other side. You can see how the spacer is on there in the flanged nut. And then don't forget to use your washers on both the inside and the outside on both of the through bolts. That's how your wheel hub is going to look. I'm going to turn off the camera and build the right unit, and we'll be back to start on number 19.